Hello and what's up, GSC Pokemon Challenges fam? How are you guys doing? We are back with another one, episode 3 of the Whitney Minimum Battles series. Let's get this going. We've got tons of Pokemon through this section already. It's proving not to be that hard, though a couple have had to resort to some kind of overpowered TMs. Return with maxed out friendship. We had Thunder in the last episode pop up. Of course, that would be very unreasonable to get at the game corner, but it did let Lantern get through. Today, we're going to have to see if any of our challengers need similar levels of luck. So today we are coming in with a massive number of challengers. We have the entire Jigglypuff line, including the unevolved form Igglybuff. We're going to have Golbat and Crobat. Venomoth is coming in. Dugtrio, Persian, Golduck, Primeape, I think, just destroys this section. We're then going to get the entire Poliwag line, including Poliwrath and Politoed. Poliwrath, yet again, should completely crush. Politoed, we're gonna kind of have to see. Then we are going to have Azumarill, we are going to have Sudowoodo, and we're gonna finish it all off with an Aipom. But not just that, we have a ton of channel member picks to get into in this episode. Vileplume, Psyduck, and Jumpluff are all getting in on the action, and really Jumpluff might be the one that has the most trouble here. That will be very interesting to see. Finally, we are going to be scouting ahead the Morty section because we have reached Arcanine in the Pokedex, my personal Pokemon, so we're going to go ahead and scout it out and just see what that next section has. So 21 challengers today. I'm going to make a pretty conservative guess that maybe we struggle with something like Poliwag or Igglybuff. I just don't see how any other Pokemon is really going to have that much trouble here based on what we've seen already, but we could be surprised, I guess. But I don't know. So I'm basically going to say that only 2 of our challengers fail here. Everything else gets through. Tell me what you think down in the comments below. With that, let's get straight into the action, starting with the normal types. I'm going to start off with this Wigglytuff, then Persian, then Aipom. Once we get the fully evolved ones out of the way, depending on the results of Wigglytuff, we'll go back and look at Jigglypuff and Igglybuff. Now, in general about the normal types, of course, we know in the worst case, they can get Stab in return, and that could be completely overpowered here. But we're obviously going to try to get through with other moves wherever we can, and this Jigglypuff line learns the move Rollout and already knows Defense Curl. Obviously, we could use that as a strategy to get through since Defense Curl effectively doubles the power of Rollout. Still, that might not be enough. We'll just kind of have to see. Now, Wigglytuff did have to use the move Mud Slap in the last section in order to get through Rival 2 since it had nothing else that could hit a ghost. And I'm going to try to stick with this moveset before we go adding on any new moves. Double Slap could prove to be too random though, so we may end up having to add something in order to get a better range on our opponents. Now, I will be taking on the underground trainers in this one, as well as getting 2 Abras, one to trade away for a Machop, of course, so that we get that gold berry easily. And that will basically be my standard route for all of these runs. So I'll comment on the underground if there's something interesting, but otherwise just assume that I did that in every single one of these. And as usual, we will be putting off Return or any of the Game Corner TMs unless they're absolutely necessary, just because I don't want every single Pokemon to spam the exact same strategy in this. Let's see how much we can get through without adding on extra moves. So while upgraded moves like Headbutt, upgraded moves like Rollout, we can even go Nightmare strats with this Pokemon. They all could be very reasonable ways to get through Whitney. I'm going to just try with what we already have, starting with Scary Carry here. In this fight, I'm basically just going to go Double Slap on this Pokemon. Sure, Bite will do damage. She goes Scary Face on us. We don't really care too much about Scary Carry though. She easily goes down and we get to level 19. So now it's just time to take our first attempt at Whitney for the day. Starting with this Wigglytuff that's coming in at level 19, we have 89 HP. We know Double Slap, Mud Slap, Defense Curl, and Sing. We were holding a berry. We may need to upgrade that. But we're coming in with 39 attack, 29 defense, 40 special attack, 31 special defense, and 29 speed. So we will be outsped by the Miltank. still, let's see if Whitney is possible at our current level with this moveset. Leading off on the Clefairy, I'm simply going to sing on this Pokemon. Once it's asleep, I'm going to start setting up my defense curls, because basically our strategy is to have really high defense on the Miltank so that hopefully it just can't deal enough damage to take us down. And once we get all of the defense buffs set up, I'm simply going to double slap on this Clefairy. It wakes up and starts using all kinds of moves that boost its defense. That's really not what we wanted to see. So here, double slap, even though it hits 4 times, didn't do that much. We're gonna need to get better ranges here. We finally do, and knock that Pokemon out. Out next comes the Miltank, goes for rollout. We're gonna try to sing this Pokemon, and we're missing all the sings. But here we do recover with a berry, and I'm going to go into the mud slaps on this Pokemon, basically hoping to lower its accuracy a bunch. Now, this Pokemon decided to go for the attract strat on us, basically making it so that we can't move. So this first attempt fails because we couldn't deal any damage and we couldn't keep the Miltank asleep. But one thing is pretty clear. We are running out of PP in the move Double Slap very, very quickly here. So I do think we have to upgrade our moveset in order to get through this one. And if we're going to add on another move, honestly, I think Rollout is the way to go. It just makes too much sense with this Pokemon. We could also go Headbutt, maybe just to have a stronger normal type move. But I'm going to go Rollout strats here because it's also going to be at least capable of hitting ghosts in the next section. So I'm going to replace Double Slap with Rollout here, and let's see what that does to our strategy. So here, obviously, the first part of the strategy does not change. We're still going to want to sing on this Clefairy. But now, the second we start setting up Defense Curl, we've already doubled the power of Rollout effectively. I don't have that reflected in the overlay, but the power is effectively now 60 base power rather than 30 base power. So we will put this Clefairy back to sleep and go into the Rollout spam. We missed the first one and the second one. Now we finally hit with a critical hit. We did decent damage, and then we got put to sleep by Sing. And we had a Growl lower our attack stat. So we're just kind of getting bad luck here. Now we do stay awake here though, only to get put back to sleep. So the Sing is really the issue here. And we're just missing far too many rollouts. We got terrible luck with our accuracy on that one. We're gonna have to try this again. So all set up again. This time we hit the first rollout, we hit the second one. So 2 hits knocks out the Clefairy, and Miltank starts rolling out on us, but it missed the second rollout. We hit both of ours, easily getting through that fight and getting to level 20. So really, as long as you can actually hit with rollout, Wigglytuff will never have trouble here. You just have to use the defense curl rollout strat and you're basically good to go. In fact, I think this Pokemon could get pretty far in the game pretty much just using defense curl, rollout, sing, and one other move, just depending on what opponent happens to be in front of us. That's going to be basically my strategy with this going forward. Obviously, there may be some spots where we have to mix things up a little bit. Jasmine is definitely a case, as could be Chuck's gym, but I think that it will work out reasonably well. We'll just have to see. For now, we have gotten this Pokemon through and we're ready to move on to Morty. And with Wigglytuff getting through, now it's time to see how Persian does in this section. It's going to have a much higher attack stat, still learns pretty good moves. Now, Persian did not need to use any TMs to get through the last section since it already knew Bite. We might need to add something on here though. Headbutt, Mud Slap, and Swift are all options here. Obviously, Headbutt and Swift would be same type moves. And since Persian is really fast, flinch strats might be a reasonable way to go. Of course, we can flinch opponents already with Bite here, but we're just not really going to have anything good for the Magnetons unless we throw on Mud Slap. For now, I'm just going to go in with this though. Let's just try to take on the good old super nerd Teru and see if it's enough here. Now, fortunately, we are at a high enough level that we're doing pretty decent damage here with even Scratch against these Magnemites. I didn't even come in with full PP. I forgot to heal. We're still going to do more than enough damage to get through this fight at this level. So coming into the gym, I'm simply going to stick with Scratch and Bite for now, where against this Snubble, even after its scary faces, we're still faster than this Pokemon, and it's just a 3-hit KO with Scratch. So we can move on to the gym leader. Let's check the stats. Our Persian role-playing as Giovanni's pet here. We are at level 17 with 55 HP. Scratch, Growl, and Bite is the moveset. And we have 35 attack, 32 defense, 33 in both specials, and 50 speed. So we will outspeed the Miltank. We can go for flinches here. Let's see if this is enough. So starting off against the Clefairy, I'm just going to scratch it. And we did 14 damage there. So I'm pretty sure this is a 4-hit KO. As the standard, it goes soft-boiled, so it actually heals up damage. Now it's mimicking scratch from us. Still, once we can get the hits off, 4 hits, that's all we needed there. Miltank comes out. I'm going to growl at this Pokemon once as it starts its rollout, and I'm going to try to use Bite to flinch it to break its rollout there. It goes for rollout again, so we're just going to stick with the Bite strat, just not quite enough to get through. I think if we add him on a move like Headbutt though, this fight should be pretty simple to get through. It makes perfect sense. We're going to be faster, we're going to be able to flinch, but Headbutt is a same type move, so it's going to do a lot more damage here. Let's see if it works. This time coming back with Headbutt, Clefairy looks to be a 2-hit KO. Oh, we just missed the range to knock it out in 2 hits. Still, we'll just scratch it down. Out next comes the Miltank. I'm just going to switch Headbutt into the top slot, and we get a nice critical hit turn 1. We flinch it turn 2, flinch it turn 3, and just like that, we are through Whitney. Headbutt for a fast Pokemon could be completely overpowered in this section of the game, given the fact that, hey, I mean, we can just basically fish for the flinch luck in order to get through that fight. And since so many Pokemon learn Headbutt in this version of the game, since it was made into TM2, I mean, it's really a pretty effective strategy here. So while Whitney warns us as we go into the fight that she's quote unquote good, we're starting to see that she might have been overselling just a little bit. So just like that, Persian is ready to go to the next section. This Pokemon does no Bite still, so we do have something for Ghosts. We can go for some flinch strats in the worst case scenario. So I'm actually feeling pretty good about this one for a while. We'll just have to see if it works out though. For now, Persian moves on. Let's see how Aipom matches up to these two Pokemon that have gotten through so far. Aipom is also pretty darn good in this version, so I don't think it's going to struggle too much. Let's find out. So Aipom was another Pokemon that in the last section did have to use some Mud Slap strats in order to get through the rival. Fortunately, we had a useless move to replace in Baton Pass. For a solo challenge, you basically just have no reason to ever have that move on the moveset. There are quite a few moves like that in Gen 2 that are basically team moves or moves that you would only use if you had multiple Pokemon. So it kind of makes sense that whenever we see one of those moves on a moveset, we're just going to replace it with something as soon as possible. We also went with Swift in the last section to have a stronger normal type move. We may end up replacing that move as well with something even stronger. So for now, I'm just going to go with the Mud Slap and Swift in this section, and let's see if it's enough. Carry turns out to just be a 2-hit KO here. We get a level up and learn Fury Swipes. I'm not sure we even need this move though. While yes, technically a 5-hitter would be stronger than Swift, I think I'm just going to forget this move because Swift is already pretty darn good. So let's just quickly check the stats. We're coming in at level 19 with Aipom with 57 HP. We have Swift, Tail Whip, Mud Slap, and Sand Attack as our moveset. 39 attack, 33 defense, 27 special attack, 33 special defense, and 44 speed. We're not going to outspeed here, unfortunately, so we can't go for some sort of like flinch strat. But still, I think we should do reasonably well. Let's just see. So Whitney attempt number 1. I'm simply going to give a Sand Attack to the Clefairy just to try to get some misses, and then go into Swift. And we easily knock it out in 2 turns. Out next comes the Miltank. I'm going to go for the Mud Slaps here to try to break up its rollouts. We heal with our berry that we had on here. It's just hitting lots of stomps on us. So we get knocked out on the first attempt. We probably want to have the gold berry on to have a better chance here. So let's just try this again with a better healing item and see if it's enough. So here against the Clefairy, I'm going to just try to go for Swift, and it does in fact turn out to be a 2-hit KO there. Now into the Mud Slap spam on this Miltank. We're going to get a heal almost to full health here as it finally misses a rollout, and I'm just going to set up all of the Mud Slaps And then let's see what the range is with Swift here. Swift does decent damage. It looks like from here would be like a 4-hit KO. Obviously, this Pokemon is using things like Milk Drink, so I'm gonna Tail Whip it here a couple times in order to lower its defense, but then a critical hit Stomp takes us down. Still, I'm gonna try one more time, just going all in on Swift. Let's just see how well we do here. So we can see that Swift did about 13 damage. So this is going to be a little more than a 5-hit KO. So with a critical hit, we could get through in 4 hits. Unfortunately, rollout will build up too much before that happens. So honestly, the best strategy might be to go for Fury Cutter, just because this move could build up enough that we're actually able to knock out that Miltank very quickly. I'm going to test it out by replacing Sand Attack with Fury Cutter. Let's just see how this goes. So here we're simply going to start setting up Fury Cutter on the Clefairy and just hopefully get this move to build up nice and strong, where the issue is we get flinched turn 1. And obviously without the build up, Fury Cutter's not going to do anything. It's not guaranteed that we get flinched by Stomp though, so I'm going to try this one again. Back to Miltank with a built up Fury Cutter. We did massive damage and now Swift should be enough to finish it off. So just like that, we do manage to get through without even using the Gold Berry this time. Basically, Fury Cutter or any kind of move that builds up like that is kind of good here against Whitney. The fact that she has only 2 Pokemon is really the main reason for that. If she had a bigger team, clearly this strategy wouldn't work. But yeah, we managed to get through just fine, and we can move on in the game with Aipom. And because we have Mud Slap, we have Stab normal moves, and we have Fury Cutter now, I think we're going to do reasonably well in the next section. The real question is going to be Curse. If we can build up enough to get through opponents with Fury Cutter even after Curse hits us, then we're probably going to be fine. But if we can't build it up enough, then we could have some serious issues. We'll just have to see. But now that we've gotten through with all of these final stage normal types, let's go back and look at the less evolved forms of the Wigglytuff line, starting with Jigglypuff, and then maybe, just maybe, we'll have another baby to try out in Igglybuff. Now with Jigglypuff, I'm not just going to immediately go for rollout, because unlike Wigglytuff, which knows the move Double Slap, Jigglypuff has Pound, and Pound has more PP, so theoretically at least, it's a better move to use here. Still, it's not a guarantee by any means, so we're just going to have to test it out and find out if it's possible to get through this or not. And if we run into troubles, then we will go to the rollout strategy. Jigglypuff does easily pound down Scary Carry though, and here it learns rollout naturally via level up. So at this point, I think there's no choice. We just have to use this move. If it's coming in via level up, we don't even need a TM. We could always get a better normal move than Pound anyway. So I'm just gonna try the same rollout strat. Let's see if it works on Whitney. So we are coming in with a level 19 Jigglypuff with 80 HP. It's got a massive HP for an unevolved Pokemon. And here we've got Rollout, Defense Girl, Sing, and Mud Slap on the moveset. We're coming in with 29 attack, 20 defense, 29 special attack, 21 special defense, and only 20 speed. So we're not going to be super fast here. Let's see if we can get the setup off and get this one to go. So first things first, we are in a speed tie with Clefairy. So it metronomes Guillotine but misses. That's perfectly fine with us. We're going to put it to sleep and start setting up our defense girls, which I think are super important here, given the fact that we have such low defense naturally. Of course, with all the defense buffs, we're pretty darn good. And we're just going to start our rollout here. And it's an easy 3-hitter there on the Clefairy. Out comes the Miltank. It immediately goes Attract, but we still one-shot it. So just like that, Jigglypuff gets through on the first attempt. Easy, easy game. Whitney has no answers for her own tactics because she leads off with a different Pokemon. So, you know, it's kind of the problem with her rollout strat. She should lead off with the Miltank and just roll out from the beginning. Instead, she gives us the chance to build up rollout on her Clefairy as she just uses random metronome moves. And that turns out to be enough. And now as we progress, we can pick up the Quick Claw. And keep in mind that if we have a Pokemon with a sleep move, there is a chance that we could get through a tough fight as we go forward by simply using the Quick Claw to outspeed an opponent and thereby have the ability to set up sleep on turn 1. I'm not going to go crazy on Quick Claw luck in the next section, but if there's a situation where we just need like one Quick Claw activation, I will definitely try that strategy out. But just like that, that is another Pokemon through. We are just completely rolling all over Whitney. Let's see if Igglybuff can do the same though. So just like Cleffa, we actually didn't use any TMs in the previous section to get through with our Igglybuff. We just went Sweet Kiss strats in order to get through the Ghastly, and then we used our attacking moves plus Sleep in order to get through the rest of the team on Rival 2. So this Pokemon still has all of the TMs available to it, but I highly doubt that we're going to be able to Sweet Kiss our way through this next section. We saw with Cleffa already that it didn't work, and Igglybuff, while it has a lot of HP, is basically just in the boat of not having a whole lot of defense, so I don't think we're going to be able to survive enough hits here. Still, Pound is more than enough to get through the underground, so we do have that going for us. Maybe with Sleep it is enough. Now the other big issue for this Pokemon, of course, is that it's very slow. We were outsped by the Snubbull even before it used Scary Face on us. So we're not going to outspeed anything on Whitney's team, I don't think. And that could be an issue here because we're just guaranteed to be attacked by the Clefairy as well. Still, Igglybuff is coming in at level 19 with 70 HP. Pound, Sweet Kiss, Defense Curl, and Sing on the moveset. We've got 24 attack, 18 defense, 27 special attack, 20 special defense, and 18 speed. I am going to come into this fight with a Goldberry, and let's just see if we can get through without TMs, but otherwise rollout strats are going to be the way to go. So first things first, against this Clefairy, we need to put it to sleep. It's metronoming all kinds of moves to do damage to us. And here we're gonna even have to go Sweet Kiss as we just keep taking chip damage here. We like that the Clefairy hit itself in confusion, but we already had to heal up right here on this first Pokemon, and it barriers against us even. So really not what we wanted to see here. And being slower just makes it a lot harder to set up all the defense girls here, since naturally we're going to be outsped by the opponent. And so while yes, we're just kind of taking chip damage from Double Slap, it still takes tons of turns to get through that Pokemon. And here we just don't have enough HP and defense to get through the Miltank. It just stomps us down very easily. So we are going to have to try something else. So let's go for the rollout strat. Since we know that that's what our evolved forms went for, this just kind of makes too much sense with our Igglybuff. Now for now, I'm going to keep Sweet Kiss on. I'm going to forget Pound because I don't think we really need this move after we get our setup off. Sweet Kiss could be useful for buying extra turns against that first Clefairy, so I'm going to keep it. Let's just see. So first things first, once again, we are going to try to put this Pokemon to sleep. Sing is obviously not perfectly accurate, but once we get the sleep on, I'm always going to Sweet Kiss to try to make it so that at least if Clefairy does wake up, it has a 50-50 chance of hitting itself in confusion. And once we know that it's going to wake up on a given turn, we're just going to set up Sing again. So we did manage to keep this Clefairy asleep as we set up, and now it's time for rollout, where we did some decent damage there. It's going to turn out to be 3 hits, but the opponent knocked themselves out. So we did really nice damage here with a critical hit on the Miltank first turn, survived against 2 of its attacks, and we were able to knock it out the next turn. So we just needed a good range with Sing and of course with Sweet Kiss on the Clefairy as we set up all the defense girls and then just go into the rollout. It's important to note that it's only one defense girl that doubles the power of rollout. It's not like you keep doubling it over and over again as you set up multiple defense girls. That would be completely broken. It's just the first one that actually has an impact. But just like that, we have gotten through Whitney, and I basically feel good with anything that learns rollout. I just think that's always going to be the strategy in the worst case that gets us through that fight, because she just really can't do anything against it. That being said, it's going to be much more questionable in the next section, especially with a slow Pokemon like Igglybuff, because if we imagine that we're going for maybe one Quick Claw activation, even then, it's going to take an awful lot of luck to be able to actually get through an opponent who has lots of Pokemon, because Rollout starts out really weak and takes lots of turns to build up. So in theory, between getting hit by our opponents and the number of turns that it takes to build up Rollout, Curse could easily take us out anyway. That will all be stuff to test in the next section, but for now, Igglybuff also joins the winners column, and it's time to check on our progress so far. So true to form so far in this section, 5 of 5. We get everything through. Let's move on now to our poison types. We of course have the Crobat and Golbat, but we've also got a Venomoth in there, so we're kind of role-playing as Koga. Let's see how many of his Pokemon could actually get through. So of course with our Crobat, we've already done this run as a full game solo challenge, but we did have to give up on minimum battles at some point, so if you didn't watch that one already, go check it out. Now the big difference of course is that when I do full game runs, I run on 0 DVs, whereas in this series we're running max DVs. So all of our stats are just a little bit stronger here. The real thing I'm interested in though is how we do against these Magnemites. There's basically no move on this Pokemon's moveset that's actually good for a Steel Electric type, and so we struggled really hard throughout the entire run with Magnemite and Magneton trying to get through the game. And here, like, we can go for Bite. Leech Life, of course, is also resisted here, so I'm gonna just stick with the Bite, I think. I think it's the way to go. The whole issue with this Pokemon is that we have high attack, but we don't have many moves that use our attack stat. And Bite, which is one of our better moves, uses our much lower special attack stat. And all of the level up moves that we learn are resisted by the Magnemite line. So I expect once we get later in this, it's going to be really a problem. Here, obviously, the Magnemites are such low levels, they don't really cause any trouble, but I'm really worried about this Pokemon as we go forward. But that's all for later sections. For now, we have to get through Whitney, so I'm just going to go ahead and get access to the Gold Berry here by trading this Abra, and then let's just make it straight to the gym leader. Now, I am going to just come in with Bite here just to see, because I think that this will be good enough. Maybe we can even Leech Life some HP back or something, but I'm mostly going for flinch strats here. We're coming in with a level 17 Crobat with 62 HP. Bite, Screech, Supersonic, and Leech Life is the moveset. And we've got 42 attack, 38 defense, 35 special attack, 38 special defense, and 56 speed. We even level up after the first Clefairy, so we should be quite a bit faster than our opponents here. Let's just see if this is enough though. So Whitney attempt number 1, starting off against this Clefairy. I'm simply going to Bite this Pokemon. We can see that this is looking like a 5-hit KO, but we can get flinches. It uses Petal Dance against us, which really doesn't matter. We easily get through that. And after the level up to level 18, we're going to be faster than Miltank, so I'm going to confuse this Pokemon, and now I'm going to go into the Bite strats to basically flinch and confuse it. It manages to hit us with Attract though. This is one of the big differences from the full game solo run on the 0 DVs. When you're running on 0 DVs, you always have a female Pokemon unless it's a Pokemon that is specifically always male. And what that means, of course, is that this Miltank cannot attract those Pokemon. So here we actually get knocked out because we just missed enough turns with Attract. She had 5 HP remaining though, so I do think this is possible even with this strategy. So once again, we're going Supersonic here. I'm also going to Screech at this Pokemon, so if it hits itself, it's going to do more damage. And we're just kind of hoping to either flinch or have her hit herself in Confusion as many turns as possible. If she snaps out of Confusion, we will reconfuse her. We're going to Screech again here as she sets up the Milk Drinks, and we just couldn't get the luck on that one. So this time we simply can't get the Miltank to hit itself in Confusion and break up Rollout, but we're getting a lot of flinches here, so we managed to get through with 1 HP remaining. Took 3 attempts, but hey, we'll take that level of luck. Still, Crobat, it's not perfectly consistent with this strategy. Learning a TM like Swift would certainly help, but I want to try to move on as much as possible with my current moveset just to see if maybe it makes a difference in this one. There could be situations where Screech plus Leech Life might actually be be a better strategy than the Swift strategy that I used in the full game solo run, given the fact that it might allow us to heal up in battle. That could actually be a really big deal in certain fights. So we will test that out. For now, Crobat, just like we did in the full game solo run on max DVs, even without TMs, it manages to get through this section and it's on to Morty. So now that we got through with Koga's Gen 2 ace, let's go back and see about his Gen 1 ace, which was of course the Psychic Dragon Pokemon that is known as Venomoth. Now I can already hear somebody yelling at the screen that Venomoth is not a Psychic Dragon Pokemon. What are you talking about? So go ahead and comment the correct typing down below. Now our whole strategy in the last section was Foresight plus Swift in order to get through rival number 2, and fortunately this set was good enough to get through that section. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough here given our weakness against the move rollout though. We might need to add on some new moves. And so against the super nerd Teru, we are going to get to learn the move Confusion, and I'm going to learn this move over Foresight. I know Foresight allows you to bypass accuracy drops. There aren't that many Pokemon that are going to use accuracy moves against us though, and I think what's going to be far more important is going to be the coverage with the move Confusion as we go forward in this challenge. And of course we'll be able to upgrade Confusion with moves like Psychic later on, so I do think that this is a reasonable strategy for getting through at this point. Once again, if you think it's a strategy mistake, tell me, because we may have to come back and correct something if I chose the wrong move. Now this Pokemon does not learn a whole lot of TM moves in this section, so basically we're kind of stuck with this moveset unless we're going to add on Return, which I'm definitely going to avoid as much as possible. Now we can see that we have a significantly higher special attack stat than an attack stat, so I'm mostly going to use Confusion in this section to deal damage. It ends up being a 4-hit KO on Scary Carry, but we can now move on to the gym leader. So coming into the Whitney fight, we have a level 17 Venomoth with 57 HP. Swift, Disable, Confusion, and Supersonic is the moveset. We are holding a Goldberry, of course, and we're coming in with 33 attack, 32 defense, 42 special attack, 47 special defense, and 42 speed. We will level up here, but I still think we're going to be outsped by the Miltank, so we're going to just kind of have to hope that we can use some Confusion strats, maybe some Disable strats, to get through that one. So first things first, against the Clefairy, I want to see what the ranges look like here. Swift did 15 damage there, meaning that this would be a 4-hit KO. Confusion does like 10 damage, so Swift is actually the better play here against the Clefairy, and it metronomes Rock Throw, so it actually got a super effective move. Now we did level up to level 18 there. We can see that we're still slower than this Miltank, even on max DVs. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to go Supersonic here first in order to confuse this Pokemon. Then I'm going to follow up with Disable. Basically, I'm hoping that I would be able to disable Rollout, and then from there be able to knock that Pokemon out. Didn't work that time. Let's try this again. So I think the strategy is definitely to confuse the Clefairy as well, and we're getting some nice confusion luck here. It hit itself in confusion a couple times, but then it landed a massive double slap. So we took a lot of damage there as we come into the Miltank, and we missed the Supersonic, so I think we're losing this attempt as well. So here we do manage to disable Rollout, and we can see Miltank has much lower special defense than defense, so I think that Confusion's the way to go. We just didn't get to even see the range because of the stomp there. So this time we managed to get through the Clefairy with no damage, and now we just need the ranges. We got a flinch turn 1 from a stomp from the Miltank. That's one of the things about its AI, is that it will go for stomp if it will manage to get the flinch or a critical hit against you. Now we can see we critical hit with Confusion. It really didn't do that much though, so we easily get knocked out after that. So I've been trying that a few times, and we're not even getting close to getting through that Miltank. So there are only a couple things that I can think might help us. One is the Quick Claw, maybe instead of the Goldberry by just getting a chance to move first. that could help us there. Otherwise, the only other thing that we could really try is something like Sweet Scent to maybe make it so that we land our really inaccurate moves more accurately, but that's about it. Honestly, there's not a whole lot for this Pokemon to do, so if we can't get through with this moveset, I think we're just gonna have to go return, and at that point we may or may not be able to get through, given that we don't have a great attack stat. That last attempt was about the best luck that we've gotten. We got this down to 11 HP remaining, but it's just really not working with this Swift confusion strategy. So I think the only thing to do is to go for the return at this point and see if that's enough. So back here with a max power return, I want to see what the range is on this Clefairy. It still does not get a 2-hit KO. It's a 3-hit KO here on this Pokemon. Still, that's faster than we were getting through before with Swift, so it's a slight improvement. Now here on the Miltank, we're trying to get the Supersonic to land. Now I'm going to just test return to see how much damage it does. And it was decent, but it's not like, you know, world-beating damage there, and we easily get knocked out. So this is probably not going to be consistent here either. I'm still going to try a few attempts just to see, but we might need more luck than this to get through. And just to check the damage range here, since I'm going to get knocked out the next turn anyway, we did 16 damage with return against the Miltank. So this would be a 5-hit KO here without a critical hit, and that's going to take an awful lot of confusion luck. It misses the rollout, so I do get a confuse it this turn, and it hits itself in confusion. And if it just keeps hitting itself in confusion, we might just get the chance, but no, it knocks us out when it was down to 8 HP. And of course, when we had a close one, it used Attract and then it used Milk Drink, so it was able to get through us. So if I don't get through this within a couple more attempts, this might be our first Pokemon that we're going to have to call a fail in this section. We finally get a run where we got a critical hit return, and the Miltank hit itself in confusion every single turn. So finally, finally, we do in fact manage to beat Whitney, but that was rough. 15 resets to get through that fight. And really, that was kind of god tier luck to get through that. So I'm going to just say right now that if you're running anything less than a max DV's Venomoth, you would have basically no shot at getting through on minimum battles. And even here on max DVs, you can go max power return. It's completely unreasonable to do so, but you can get through eventually. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be pretty, but technically it is possible. Now with that done, we do get confusion to deal with the ghosts in the next section, but this is another Pokemon that's not going to have anything really good to use against a Magnemite. So that's going to be kind of interesting to see as we go through this challenge. Still, with that Pokemon done, it is time to see if Golbat can manage to get through. We're probably going to end up using the same strategies as Crobat, but with less speed, so it might not work out. We'll just have to see. So Golbat is running the exact same moveset that we just had with Crobat. Obviously, the issue is just that its stats are a heck of a lot lower, and that could make a massive difference here. It's not like Crobat was super consistent against Whitney, and while we are a physical attacker, a move like Return doesn't necessarily do that much for us. So this could be a situation where we get wrecked by the fact that we don't outspeed and we don't have stats that are good enough to do good damage, given the fact that we are also quite a bit weaker. So we did manage to get all the way to Whitney here, but we're going to need some luck between Screeches, Supersonic luck. We might need to use Leech Life in order to heal up in this battle, and no matter what we do, we're just not going to be faster. We're coming in at level 17. We're about to level up to level 18, but we've only got 59 HP. Bite, Leech Life, Supersonic, and Screech on the moveset. We have 38 attack, 35 defense, 33 special attack, 37 special defense, and 42 speed. After the level up, I think we're going to be at 44, 45 speed. So it's just not going to be enough to outspeed the Miltank. Let's see if we can get this to go or not. So first things first, against Whitney, I'm going to Screech at her Clefairy, and I'm actually going to use Leech Life here since it will heal damage in battle. Now here we get attracted by the Clefairy, but still we're gonna get through this one as long as we land one more hit here. Finally, we do manage to get it to go. We level up to level 18, and like I said, 44 speed here, so we're gonna be outsped by the Miltank. And let's just see, we do 5 damage normally with the move Leech Life. We're definitely gonna have to confuse this Pokemon. We don't get it that time. Let's try this again. So this time we get through the Clefairy with much better HP. Stomp still does massive damage with a critical hit on us though. We do manage to confuse Miltank, and it hits itself in confusion. I'm going to take this opportunity to do a couple screeches, but then it snapped out of confusion, so it just easily knocked me out. So this time we get through to the Miltank on full health, but with 1 defense drop due to a metronome acid that dropped our defense. So we're going to take even more damage from Miltank than normal. We already have to heal up with our Goldberry. I'm going to go kind of crazy on the screeches here, hoping it hits itself in confusion. And now I'm going to go for Leech Life. It's milk drinking here, and Rollout is doing massive damage. It misses a Rollout though. However, after that, it knocks us out with a Stomp. So yeah, this one's really borderline. So this is pretty darn borderline if we do manage to get through. I'm still going to give it a few more attempts, but if we get really desperate, we might have to try out either Swift or, in the worst case, Max Power Return. So this time we have Miltank confused with 6 stages of defense drops. Stomp doesn't quite knock us out. I'm going for Leech Life because it takes advantage of those defense drops here, but we just couldn't get it to hit itself enough times. So I'm going to try a different strategy. I'm actually going to add Swift on here, but I just want to see what the damage range is, so I'm not going to have Supersonic. Keep in mind, we get Confuse Ray later on in the run. I just want to see if there's any possibility of progressing with our attacking moves intact. And Screech just kind of makes sense since it's going to allow us to deal more damage. So after 1 Screech, Swift is going to 2-shot the Clefairy there. Now against the Miltank, I'm going to start off by using a Screech here. We're kind of hoping for a rollout miss, and we just didn't get it on that attempt, but I want to just see what the damage range is if we manage to get a Screech and then a Swift there. So this time we do Screech on the Miltank, and we use Swift, and we can see we did 18 damage. So this is still a 4-hit KO. We would need a rollout miss definitely, and a critical hit. So Swift isn't really strong enough. I'm going to try a Max Power Return here just to see what it does. So here a Max Power Return almost does 50% damage to the first Clefairy. It could even be arranged to be a 2-hitter. Here we managed to get through it with no damage though. Onto the Miltank, I'm once again going to set up Screech, and then let's see what the damage is from return. With that, this is going to be a 3-hit KO on this Miltank, so we would only need 1 miss from rollout, I think, in order to get this to go at that point, or a critical hit. So this should at least theoretically work out eventually, as long as we get a good range on the first Clefairy. This time we get her all the way down to 4 HP when we just barely miss the range in order to knock this Pokemon out. So this time Miltank misses return turn 1, and we get a critical hit, and then we knock it out. So that was pretty lucky. We still had the Goldberry on, so we would have been able to heal there, but it was really that turn 1 miss from rollout that gave us the chance that we needed there. The crit was also incredible luck. Golbat does get through, though it is going to move into that overpowered TMs category, because yeah, that was not good, and it makes me really nervous for this Pokemon going forward. Like I said, I wanted to keep as many attacking moves as I could just so that we have more flexibility going forward. One thing that I was thinking about as I was doing the Crobat run before is that while Leech Life is an incredibly weak move, it is at least super effective against things like dark types, grass types, and psychic types, and in theory, when mixed with Screech, it might allow us to get through some fights that we otherwise couldn't, because we would be able to heal HP in battle. It's probably not going to end up making a massive impact, but it is something that I wanted to test out, so we're going to run with that move for a little while at least. But just like that, Golbat does get through. I'm not sure it deserved to get through, but now it should have a much better time against Morty since it does have Bite. It's reasonably fast, not super fast, but fast enough at least to outspeed some Ghastlies, and Bite might just be what it needs to get through that section. Anyway, that does it for these Pokemon. Let's check on our progress so far. And what we can see is that while Koga's Gen 2 ace Crobat does manage to beat Whitney legitimately, not super consistently, but it does get through, his Venomoth would not get through super easily. We would have to go return strats in order to get that to work. And the same is true for the Golbat. These Pokemon just don't have enough speed to outspeed the Miltank, and they don't have great defense, so they're not going to survive a ton of hits here, especially against that rollout as it builds up. But even when the Miltank went into Stomp after we confused it, for example, we were still taking massive damage with these Pokemon. So it's definitely not a situation where you would want to try these Pokemon on minimum battles. Taking optional battles probably makes sense here, especially as we look forward in the run where we're, again, like we saw with the Crobat full game solo challenge, gonna struggle against enemies that have Magnemite or Magneton on their team. And I expect that when we get to Lance at the end, if we do get to Lance at the end, they're gonna struggle there too, just due to the fact that his Pokemon have really strong moves and they don't really have anything great to use against that team. Still, we've gotten these Pokemon through for now, even if we had to use unreasonable TMs. Now let's break out of this set of challengers for today and look at a couple of the channel member picks. We have a Vileplume and a Jumpluff, two grass types. Let's just see if they can manage to get through this section with the egg moves that they were given. Of course, we have Vileplume with Acid and Jumpluff with Confusion. So first up for the channel members, we have Tamonowo's Vileplume Erica, which we gave the move Acid to in the last section. And Acid was enough to be able to get through the Rival 2 fight. Before that, that really was not working. Acid, of course, is a same type move and can lower opponent's defense, allowing it to pretty well stack up. We're going to have to see if it's enough here in this section though. Of course, we also have Petal Dance, which is a very strong same type move. The only issue is that we get confused after it finishes up. So if we get the Miltank in the right sort of range, we might be able to go for that though. We were able to get through the Super Nerd Teru though, so at least the Magnemites weren't that big of an issue for us. This is another Pokemon that's not really going to have anything good to take on Pokemon like Magnemite, though at least it will be neutrally effective against Steelix with grass type moves. But with all our setup done, it's now time just to get into Whitney's gym, where we're going to take on Scary Carry first, of course. And here I think we're just going to pull an Erica and just drop some acid. Here it's looking like a 3-hit KO. We get a critical hit, so 2 hits to knock that Pokemon out, and we get to level 20. And now it's time to take on Whitney herself. We are coming in with a level 20 Vileplume with 67 HP. We know Acid, Sweet Scent, Stun Spore, and Petal Dance. And we have 45 attack, 47 defense, 52 special attack, 48 special defense, and only 33 speed, though we can paralyze the Miltank, so we should be able to outspeed here. So we're simply going to give a Gold Berry to our Pokemon, and let's see if we can beat Whitney. So Whitney attempt number 1, we're going to lead off just by using Acid on the Clefairy. It does a little less than half here, but at worst this is a 3-hit KO. She mimics Acid, so we're just going to knock her out after that. And next comes the Miltank. I'm going to lead off immediately with the Stun Spore here, and then let's see what Acid does. Acid did about 14 damage. Now Miltank does have lower special defense, so I'm going to try Petal Dance here, and that did a lot more damage. She was fully paralyzed, and 2 hits from there knocked her out. So basically 1 Acid, 2 Petal Dances, you get through that Miltank, no problem. And just like that, we have managed to beat Whitney with our Vileplume. Now, I'm very nervous about this Pokemon in the next section, given the fact that it's not really going to get anything good against Ghosts. It doesn't have anything that's going to be good against the rival's Magnemite. So there's a lot of things to be kind of nervous about going forward with this grass poison type. That being said, if we can find a way through, we should then do reasonably well against Chuck's gym, I think. We're at least going to be decent against Jasmine's Steelix. And I mean, we'll have super effective moves when we get to Price's gym, because he's got water and ground typings as well as the ice type. But it's still kind of a question, are we going to be able to progress with this Pokemon? How far? It doesn't have a sleep move. That's kind of the real kicker here. But for now, Vileplume does move on. So now let's check on our Jumpluff. So channel member WaferKing PM or WaferKing PM, tell me the correct pronunciation, he decided to save my boy Jumpluff by giving it access to Confusion in the last section, and that allowed it to actually have a move that could hit a ghost. Struggle strats weren't working there, so it really needed the Confusion to get through that Ghastly. Now that it has that move, I feel pretty good going forward, but yet again, we don't get a ton of good moves here, so we're just going to be kind of grinding. We do have access to Synthesis though, so at least we have a way to heal, even though we're going to be getting a lot of damage from that rollout. Now, the one thing that Jumpluff does really have going for it is the fact that it is going to be able to use sleep strats against our opponents. Sleep, while definitely nerfed in Gen 2, is still proving to be pretty darn overpowered as long as we can actually manage to land the hits. So now in the gym, of course, we're up against Scary Carry, where Confusion isn't going to do that much damage, and the other move, Tackle, isn't going to do much either, but we should still get through this Pokemon basically every time, since naturally we could just heal up with Synthesis if we actually needed to. So we get to level 20, and it is on to Whitney. So coming into this fight, my boy Jumpluff is at level 20 with 67 HP. We know Confusion, Synthesis, Sleep Powder, and Tackle. I'm gonna avoid any other moves for now. We may upgrade something if we absolutely need to, but even in that case, it's basically Headbutt and Return that we could learn here. So I'm gonna try with this moveset. Let's just see if we can get WaferKing through this one. And we are coming in with 35 attack, 41 defense, 34 special attack, 46 special defense, and 57 speed. So we will be outspeeding here. So we just need to land the sleep, and I think we're going to be good to go. Let's find out. So first up on this Clefairy, I am just going to use a sleep powder to put it to sleep. And then Clefairy has lower defense, so I am going to go for the Tackle here and just see what the damage range is. That one did 10 damage, so that will be a 6-hit KO. Confusion also did 10 damage, so they're basically 6 of one, half dozen of the other. However, we do manage to keep it asleep, and we missed the last Tackle, but we do knock it out right there. Out next is the Miltank. We missed the first Sleep Powder and the second Sleep Powder. That is not what we wanted to see, but once it is asleep, I'm going to use Synthesis to heal up, and then just go into the Confusion spam. Maybe we can confuse this Pokemon, and when it wakes up, we're simply going to put it back to sleep if we can. And here it finally goes for the rollout. We missed the first Sleep Powder, we hit the second one, so that's perfectly fine. We'll just heal up here, and we're really kind of hoping that we confuse this Pokemon while it's asleep so that it will wake up and have a chance to hit itself, or we can just get a really long sleep and that will be enough. So just like that, we do in fact win on the first attempt, getting to level 21. My boy Jumpluff is moving on to the next section. And because this Pokemon is so fast, we might actually outspeed the ghosts in the next section, be able to put them to sleep and then just knock them out with Confusion. If that's the case, then this Pokemon's going to do really well in that part of the game. Confusion's going to be super effective against Chuck. I don't think we're going to have too much trouble in the near term. So just like that, we are moving on. I want to give a massive thank you to Tamonowo and WaferKing PM for supporting the channel. You guys are absolutely incredible. And of course, as usual, if you would like to join this journey and save a Pokemon, consider joining the channel membership. We have lost a ton of Pokemon back in the Falkner section, mostly to Honest Abe, in fact. And we lost quite a few to Rival 2 in the last section as well. So if you'd like to save any of these Pokemon you see in the fail column, go ahead and hit me up. But before we go any further, I do want to briefly mention that we do have an abandoned channel member pick. Unfortunately, TTC345 decided not to renew this month, so currently Delibird is sitting completely unsupported, and if nobody picks it up, it will not be there for a Christmas miracle this year. So if you're interested, consider joining the channel membership, even on the lowest tier, and picking up Delibird in time for Christmas. A brief moment of silence, and with that, let's get back into the action. And as we can see, most of the Pokemon that we have left are water types, so we're going to save those for later. I'm going to do the non-water types in consecutive order at this point. We're going to do Dugtrio, Primeape, and Sudowoodo. How many get through? I think all of them, but let's just double check and find out, starting with that Dugtrio. Now, of course, the legendary Whack-A-Mole doesn't have great defense here. Of course, we have excellent moves. We've got Tri-Attack, so we can go for statuses. We've got the Magnitude that can do decent damage. We could learn Dig if we wanted something slightly more consistent. There are plenty of moves for this Pokemon to use to get through this section. So we'll just start by going in the underground and destroying these Pokemon. It's really just more of a factor of whether or not we actually get a good magnitude or not on these opponents, I think. And while we are kind of frail, it's not like we're going to get one-shot by things, I don't think. Of course, Whitney's stomps might prove me wrong. So here we even get a Learn Dig via level up. I'm going to forget Scratch to learn Dig because I still think Growl might be useful, and I want to be able to keep Magnitude for the ghosts, because if we hit them first, we can probably knock them out, whereas if we have to dig, then we're going to run that risk of getting cursed. So just like that, we can come into the gym. I'm just going to go Tri Attack here on this Snubbull. Looks to be a 3-hit KO. We still outspeed even after a Scary Face, so we easily get through that first fight. Now, just to be safe, I am going to give a Gold Berry to our Dugtrio as we come into this fight, just because we don't have great HP in defense. But let's see the stats as we come in here. We're coming in with a level 17 Dugtrio with 45 HP. We know Tri Attack, Dig, Growl, and Magnitude. And we have 38 attack, 28 defense, 28 special attack, 35 special defense, and 52 speed. So we'll outspeed very easily here. Let's just see if we can do enough damage. So first things first, against the Clefairy, I'm simply going to go for Magnitude. I think this is the best play. We get a nice Magnitude 9 there, so a Magnitude 7 finishes off the next turn. We get to level 18. Now on this Miltank, I'm going to Tri Attack, actually going for some status. Once it uses Rollout, I'm simply going to Dig. We're not taking that much damage just yet, given the fact that we resist Rollout, so I'm simply going to go now into the Magnitude and knock it out. We didn't even need the status. We went on the first attempt with our Dugtrio. Turns out that it's a Whack-A-Mole, but you can't stomp a mole, so we easily get through. And so just like that, we are on to the next section. I expect Dugtrio to do really well against the Morty section, because honestly, what are we going to struggle with? Outside of the rivals Bayleaf, we should have something for everything. And really at the end of the day, it might just be status and speed that carries us. So with that, we will wake up the Sudowoodo, knowing that it's going to come up very shortly. But first, let's get to our Primeape, fighting type. I see no way that we struggle with this Pokemon. Let's just see if it completely crushes Whitney on the first attempt. And Primeape really has all the moves at this point. It has Rage, it has Karate Chop, it already knows Mud Slap. So it's going to be, I think, doing pretty well in this section. I'm going to be much more worried about this Pokemon in the Morty section though, since we're not going to have anything super great to use against those ghosts, I don't think. We'll just have to see what we actually end up with our moveset. But for now, I think this moveset is more than enough to take care of Whitney. So it's really more of a question of just, do we have any struggles at all in the underground against those Slowpokes? But in this generation, Slowpoke doesn't know Confusion. So normally, like in Gen 1, you'd be scared of going up against Slowpokes with this Pokemon. Gen 2, they kind of nerfed Slowpoke. And besides, we can simply spam Rage as they tackle us and just gain power over and over and over again. And now I think Karate Chop basically just carries us through everything, but let's see if we can one-shot or not. Here against Scary Carry, of course, we nearly get the one-hit KO. Kind of surprised we didn't one-shot with Karate Chop there, but we still get through nice and easy. So I'm going to make my way into the gym leader now. We are coming in with a level 17 Primeape with 55 HP. We know Karate Chop, Mud Slap, Low Kick, and Rage, of course. I've got a berry. I don't even think we're going to need the gold berry here. We're coming in with 47 attack, 32 defense, 31 special attack, 35 special defense, and 44 speed. We're still going to be outsped by the Miltank. I guess it can flinch us, but I'm not even going to bother healing. Let's just see if we win. So first things first, we've got a Clefairy in front of us. We Karate Chop it and it's gone. And we get to level 18 where Miltank is going Rollout. That's perfectly fine by me because this is going to be a 3-hit KO even without a crit from our Karate Chop. We had a high chance of getting a critical hit there. It did not matter that we didn't get it until the very end. She was a joke. Oh, this is basically Whitney in a microcosm at this point, but it is worth noting that this is a Pokemon I fully expect to struggle as we continue. We don't have something like Foresight on our moveset, so we're not going to be able to hit ghosts with our strong physical moves. So we're going to have to either use Dig, Mud Slap, or the Elemental Punches to get through the next section, unless we're going to go what I consider to be kind of broken and getting access to Hidden Power Dart. work. But then again, this is not a Pokemon that has great special attacks, so that's probably not the best strategy with it. We're just gonna have to see. But we will save that all for next time with this Pokemon. For now, Primeape gets through. Let's check on our Sudowoodo. So Sudowoodo is kind of interesting because the first time I saw this Pokemon way back when I first got Pokemon Silver, just after it came out, I thought that this Pokemon would have to be a grass Pokemon. Of course, it's a pure rock type, but it has always made me wonder, what if this Pokemon was a grass rock Pokemon? It would be kind of cool to try out. Maybe it would be a good mixture. Of course, there's nothing about the moveset that suggests that that should be the case, but I would probably just make a ROM hack that allowed it to learn Solar Beam just for the sake of doing it. Anyway, I don't think this Pokemon's going to struggle too much because everything in this section is basically using physical moves and we have really good physical defense. Plus, Rock Throw is actually decent in this generation, so I think this is going to work out pretty darn well. So the bigger threat here, I think, is going to be basically the Metronome from that Clefairy. We're definitely hoping not to get that, but I think Rock Throw is going to make its way through this gym really easily. Starting with Scary Carry, we missed the first Rock Throw still. Little shades of Gen 1 coming in here with our accuracy. And Bite is doing decent damage. Still, we do manage to get through that fight just fine. I'm just going to heal quickly with a couple potions and let's get into the Whitney fight. So right in front of Whitney, we have a level 17 Sudowoodo with 57 HP. Rock Throw, Mimic, and Flail is the moveset. We've got 45 attack, 50 defense, 21 special attack, 33 special defense, and 22 speed. I think we're just gonna outspeed against that first Clefairy. I think we should definitely give a Goldberry just to be safe here and try this. Let's see if this is enough. So first things first, against this Clefairy, I am simply going to Rock Throw this Pokemon. It goes Headbutt, which does basically nothing, and now we can simply knock this Pokemon out. Out next is the Miltank. I'm going to Mimic Stomp from this Pokemon. There we go. We have a nice strong move to use against it once we run out of Rock Throw PP, if we run out of Rock Throw PP. Now it is getting pretty decent damage on us with the rollout, so maybe we actually want to use Flail here. Let's try this again. So next attempt here against the Miltank, I'm just going to go for the Rock Throw here instead of trying any sort of like Mimic strat. And now let's just see what Flail does. It does not quite get the range, so we actually needed a rollout miss to get through this one. We get a lot of turns to get that rollout miss, and it is possible that we get a good move from Metronome from this Clefairy, so let's just keep that in mind as we go through this. But I'm pretty sure at this point a single critical hit or a rollout miss is all that we actually need, so I do think this one's possible. It's just not super great. So this time we do get the critical hit, but then we missed, so we failed to get through. This time she got us down to 1 HP and we flailed, and just like that we did manage to knock her out. So critical hit could have worked, the flail worked. There were plenty of strategies. I could have also added on other TMs. I just decided not to in this one. This is more than enough. We will investigate, of course, how to get through the ghosts in the next section. If Rock Throw's not enough, we may have to go for something else, but we'll just have to see. For now, we are progressing with Sudowoodo. It joins the winners column as we continue to prove that while Whitney says that she's really tough, it turns out in practice that she's actually kind of a pushover. And with that, we can just look at the ultimate mirror match where we're actually 2 levels lower than if we just caught a Sudowoodo wild on minimum battles. So you can kind of imagine that if we fail with this Sudowoodo, but we find that maybe a couple levels might make a difference, then you technically could just catch a wild one and do better. But now with that done, we have added even more Pokemon to the pass column. 43 Pokemon have successfully passed through the Whitney section. 0 Pokemon have failed. Every Pokemon, at least with unreasonable TMs, has been able to get through at this point. I know this is frustrating for some people who are watching, but keep in mind, this series doesn't end on Whitney. Please remember that. We have a whole section still to come up, and I want to scout that out right now. Before we go through all these water types, let's take my Arcanine into the next section of the game and just see how it performs and what the actual challenges are. So coming back with the original 6-foot tall dog itself, the legendary Pokemon that always should have dominated the franchise, it is time to move on to this next section where we can get straight up to Ecruteak City. Now, the actual minimum number of battles to get through this section is simply to go straight to the burned tower. Keep in mind, you could wait on the Kimono Girls until after Morty, but you can't fight Morty first. Morty is in here, he's looking for the legendary dogs himself, not knowing that we have the true legendary dog in our party. So the fight that is actually required is, of course, this fight against rival number 3. This was skippable in Gold and Silver, but it is required in Crystal. So I'm going to take him on with my legendary dog. Let's see how he goes. So first attempt here, he sends out his Haunter. We can see his Haunter knows Lick, Spite, Mean Look, and Curse. The one that we don't want is Curse, of course, and I can do a lot of things, but I'm going to go Flame Wheel here and just see the damage. We can see it did less than half to this Pokemon. Now we can knock the Haunter out. He's going to send out the Croconaw second, and here we're going to be taking Curse damage at the same time as we're getting attacked by the Croconaw, so we simply cannot get through this fight. Fortunately, we don't actually have to take this fight on right now. We could also investigate TMs, but before I do that, I'm going to look at the other battles that are available in this section. And of course, for a lot of Pokemon, it's going to start right here with the Kimono Girls. Any Pokemon that learns Surf is going to want to come here anyway to fight these trainers, and they're not that hard. They're reasonably difficult on a one-off basis, but we have enough moves here I think that we're going to be able to get through just fine, especially with Arcanine using Takedown. We should get through pretty darn quickly. Now, of course, most Pokemon will have at least one of these Kimono Girls that they're weak against. In our case, it is, of course, Vaporeon, but Vaporeon's only level 17 here. We know Takedown, which does decent damage, and it turns out to just be a 2-hit KO there. We get through just fine. Now, of course, we can get access to HM3 Surf, which is going to help a lot of Pokemon in this section, because even if it's not super effective against Ghosts, it still hits them, and it is a reasonably strong move. Any water type basically is going to want to carry that move for most of the game. But that is not all that we can do in terms of battles. We can actually route this way over here. We can come and get a Mint Berry if we ever want to avoid getting put to sleep, but we can also go down south towards Olivine. Now, this is another position where trainers have been repositioned from Gold and Silver to Crystal. In this case, this trainer right here and this trainer right here both will see you no matter what you do. In this version, if you go all the way up against the fence here, this trainer will see you. You will have to fight this trainer. But you'll notice that there is a gap between her and the fence behind her. I believe this was not the case in Golden Crystal, so you had to fight her and then just go down to Olivine City without fighting the gentleman next to her. In this case, we actually fight this guy because he's got the exact same team. They both have one Pikachu at level 17, and Pikachu tries to double team, but we easily get through Derek here. The difference is that because of his positioning, it actually becomes possible now to simply go back here. We do not have to run into this guy, so we can simply come up here and go back this way. But no matter which way we went, we would have to fight one of these two Pokefans, so we're always just going to fight this guy Derek so that we can simply bypass the other Pokefan and move on to Olivine City. And because we're able to get to Olivine, that means that we can go to the lighthouse. We can also get strength while we're down here, so we can allow our Pokemon to use that move if we need to. But in the lighthouse, there are a few required trainers that you would have to get through in order to get to the top so that you could talk to Jasmine and learn about her secret potions that she wants you to get. So I'm simply going to take these trainers on right now. It starts off with a Noctowl. I'm simply going to use the move Flame Wheel here. I'm still paralyzed. I don't think it really matters. I don't think Noctowl is going to do enough damage to take us down. We even burned this Pokemon, so even without being able to move, we knocked it out. Now we can skip this guy right here and move on to the next level, where again this trainer is also skippable. So the next trainer to fight is this gentleman. Now the issue with this gentleman is that he has a couple of Growlists, so we're gonna have to be careful not to get hit by Roar. I'm just using Takedown here. It's a one-hit KO because Arcanine is a legendary, and we can easily get up to the next floor where we have to fight this trainer trainer with her Marill. Now, once again, I'm simply going to use Takedown as it goes for rollout here. It's an easy 2-hit KO. And after we get through Connie there, we just have to be careful of our routing, because as long as we go to the left side of this hole, we can actually avoid a trainer. By just dropping down here, we'll see that this trainer, if we drop on the wrong side, he will have to be fought, but we can just avoid him by going here. And then getting up to the top of the tower, this trainer is completely skippable, and we have made it to Jasmine. So Jasmine's going to tell us all about the fact that she needs us to go pick up some special things from a shady guy down south, and we can fall down the hole from here to be able to get access to the rare candy, and from there we just keep falling down until we get back to the entrance. And with that done, we simply teleport back to Ecruteak City, and we are ready to go back and try our rival once again. So coming back to the rival with our Arcanine, we can see this is a slow level up Pokemon, but we still managed to get to level 21 right here. And now Flame Wheel is doing half. So at the very least, Haunter knocked itself out with Curse, but if we got a critical hit here, we should be able to one-shot this Pokemon now. Croconaw is out next. We're still going to have to go take down here. We're still going to take decent damage from this Pokemon, where yet again we would need a critical hit to avoid fainting. So I'm going to try this again. I'm just going to grind it until I get the crit on the very first Haunter here. Instead, it actually goes Lick this time though, so we do knock it out in 2 hits. Croconaw comes out. I'm going to leer at this Pokemon once and now go into the takedown. We missed the takedown. Are you kidding me? So we lose that one because of a miss. So this time we do get the crit to one-shot there against that first Haunter, only to then once again miss the takedown. So that's the real issue of this one, is that we need takedown not to miss. So this time we do manage to get through Croconaw. We get to level 22. I'm going to go Flame Wheel now on the Zubat. It's going to be a 2-hit KO. And then out is going to come the Magnemite, where we're once again going to Flame Wheel, get a 1-hitter. And just like that, we have finally managed to get through our rival. It took a few attempts there with our Arcanine. Obviously, we didn't learn any TMs, so we would have been able to get through with some stronger moves. Still good enough. And just like that, we can now move back upstairs, where it's time to go and heal up and make our way to the gym. But I think we can see already that the Rival 3 fight is going to be really, really tough. Even if you have an answer for the Ghost at the start of the battle, sure, Haunter goes down, but you're still going to have to deal with the Rival's Ace, which for a lot of these Pokemon is going to be a major problem. Consider Sudowoodo or Dugtrio having to go up against the Bayleaf again there. So while they might have some answers, they don't have all the answers. And I think this section is going to really whittle out some Pokemon. Once we get through that though, we can come into the gym where there are a lot of ghosts in front of us, but this first trainer starts off with Ghastlies. We're just going to be one-shotting here with Flame Wheel, it looks like. So that is an incredibly easy fight as we level up to level 23. We get to skip one Chandler here as we move on to this third guy in the row of the gym trainers, and he's easy to knock out because he only had one Pokemon. Jeffrey was not anything to really write home about. And there's one more trainer before we get to Morty. She's got 3 Pokemon, but 2 of them are Ghastlies. So we're just going to one-shot there. Haunter comes out second. We don't really even mind if this Pokemon curses. It's just going to knock itself out. And the final Ghastly is too weak to do anything, so we easily win. And with Martha going down, it is time to make our way to Morty himself, where checking the stats, our Arcanine is coming in at level 24 with 87 HP. We know Flame Wheel, Leer, Takedown, and Roar. We have 68 attack, 53 defense, 63 special attack, 54 special defense, and 61 speed. Let's just see what the ranges look like on Morty himself. So first things first, Morty is going to lead off with his Ghastly that's level 21. Flame Wheel here is enough to one-shot though. Out next comes the Haunter. I don't think we're going to one-shot this Pokemon. It goes for Nightshade though, so we get an easy 2-hit KO. Gengar is out third. We are still faster than Gengar, but it puts us to sleep. I could have put on a Mint Berry, I guess. So we're going to lose this one, it looks like, due to sleep. So this might be a spot where rather than a Gold Berry, what we actually want is a Mint Berry. So let's just test this out with the Mint Berry instead. So once again, we one-shot Ghastly. Out comes this Haunter. It goes Nightshade, same as before. We easily knock it out in 2 hits. Gengar is out next. It knows Hypnosis, Shadow Ball, Dream Eater, and Mean Look, but we get a Wake Up because of the Mint Berry there. As long as he misses the next Hypnosis, which he does, we knock it out in 3 turns. We get to level 25 as the final Haunter comes out, and this Pokemon's just going to be a 2-hit KO. Nightshade isn't enough, and just like that, we managed to beat Morty on the second attempt. So a lot of Pokemon are probably going to go Mint Berry there in order to get through this fight. That Gengar is pretty much the biggest wall here, but just like that, we have managed to progress. And with that being done, we are now ready to move on to the next section of the game with our legendary Arcanine. And I just realized that I failed to give him his proper name. My Arcanine, his name is Henry, after my dog as a child. My mother was weird. She named one dog Henry and the other one Etta so that she could call them both by just yelling Henrietta. My mother, legend. Anyway, that does it for this section. We can move on to a bunch of different things. At this point, we can now go to the Lake of Rage and take on the Rocket Hideout. We can go down to Chuck. We can go get the potion for Jasmine and then take her on. Tons of things open up at this point in the game. But for now, Arcanine is the first Pokemon through the Morty Minimum Battles section. But of course, Arcanine is a legendary Pokemon, so we kind of expect that. Still, it's good to verify that we are going to have some challenge in that next part. At least that's what I expect. We'll see if it actually works out. But now it's time to come back to this episode where we have 6 water-type Pokemon to test out. And technically 4 of them are fully evolved, with the Golduck, Poliwrath, Azumarill, and of course Politoed. So let's test those 4 out, and then depending on the results of Poliwrath and Politoed, we will check out our Poliwhirl and Poliwag. Let's kick it all off though with the Polys, going Politoed first. So Politoed didn't use any TMs in the last section, though it just barely got through with 1 HP remaining against Rival 2. Here in this section though, we will get access to things like Headbutt, Ice Punch, and Mud Slap if we really need an extra move. Now as a water type, I am a little bit nervous going up against the Super Nerd Teru just because he is going to be using a lot of Thunder Shocks on us, but let's just see if it's enough to get through this underground. And here we're even just one-shotting with Water Gun against these Magnemites, so I don't think we're going to have too much issue in this section as we make our way to Whitney's gym. So coming into the gym now with Politoed, I'm going to try to use the move Hypnosis. We got licked with paralysis and flinched, so we're actually doing really bad here against the Snubble. Still, I think when we actually manage to land hits, this Pokemon's not going to be that bad to get through, so we probably should have just gone all in on attack from the beginning. We do manage to get through on that first attempt. And with that, we are ready to get into the gym leader battle at level 20 with Politoed. We have 73 HP, Water Gun, Hypnosis, Double Slap, and Perish Song. Obviously, Perish Song is useless, but we've got 43 attack, 43 defense, 48 special attack, 52 special defense, and 41 speed. So we're not going to outspeed against that Miltank as well, but I still think we've got decent odds here as long as we land the sleep. Let's try it. So first things first, against the Clefairy, we will outspeed. I'm going to use Hypnosis to put it to sleep, and we get a critical hit turn 1 with Water Gun, but this looks to be a 4-hit KO normally. We actually got it in 2 hits thanks to the crit. Now we are slower than Miltank. It goes Stomp on us, but I'm simply going to put it to sleep and go for the Water Gun. That did 17 damage here, so if that holds up, it will be a 4-hit KO. It could be a random range though, so yeah, it's looking like it's probably going to be a 5-hit KO actually, just based on the actual damage ranges. But Miltank stays asleep, so we easily get through with Politoed, no problem on the first attempt. And so that means that Politoed has successfully made it through this section, is on to Morty, where sleep could be a reasonable strategy there. As long as we can put opponents to sleep and keep them asleep for enough turns to knock them out. I mean, Quick Claw strats with sleep could actually be really overpowered. So we'll test it out, but for now, this Pokemon gets through. It's time to check in on Poliwrath. And of course, Poliwrath I expect to be even better here, given the fact that it actually has useful moves, including Stab Submission. While Submission will have recoil, I don't think that's going to matter in this fight because it's going to be super effective against Whitney's Pokemon. So I think we're going to be able to get through as long as Submission actually hits. That's the whole reason I hated Submission in Gen 1, was just because it was so inaccurate, plus the recoil. I really wish they had made this move like a 100% accurate move, but with strong recoil, or make it inaccurate but with no recoil. Still, it should be more than enough as we go through this section, so we're just gonna slap around some Slowpokes and then make our way to the gym. So now in the gym proper, we are up against Scary Carry, where I'm simply going to go Submission here and get the easy one-hit KO. We get to level 20 as we go into the gym leader, and I don't think this is one where we need to mess with gold berries or anything. We're coming in with 73 HP. We know Submission, Hypnosis, Double Slap, and Water Gun, and we've got 47 attack, 51 defense, 40 special attack, 48 special defense, and 41 speed. Let's just see how this actually goes. So first things first, against Whitney's Clefairy, I'm going to go Submission. It hits. It's a one-hit KO. We took 13 points of recoil damage there, but really not too bad. Out next is Miltank. It is faster, goes for rollout, but Submission does over half, and we simply knock it out on the next turn. The fact that we resist rollout, plus we have a super effective move, means this one was never in question. We easily get through Whitney on the first attempt, and we're ready to just move on in the game. Now, the real question is going to be the next section, where we don't have any way to hit ghosts with our strong physical moves, so we're going to have to think about something like Mud Slap in that section, or Ice Punch, to try to get through the ghosts. If we can get through though, then I think we'll do reasonably well against Jasmine. We can go for a mirror match against Chuck. Price should be a joke for this Pokemon. We're going to resist his water and ice type moves and have super effective Submission there, so that should be no issue. So honestly, we're probably getting pretty far into the game with this Pokemon, as long as we can manage to get through Morty. So now let's check the other fully evolved water types. I'm going to start off with Golduck here, just because it's kind of interesting. Comes in with Confusion, might be okay, but it doesn't have any water type moves, so let's see how it actually works out. Now, Golduck does get a lot of other moves though. It can go for Fury Cutter, it can go for Dig, so I think there are more than enough options to actually get through this section of the game. We're just gonna have to decide what moves we actually want to learn. I'm obviously going to try my moveset as it is first, but I think Dig is probably our best bet if we have any struggles here. Dig obviously will be good against the Magnemite and against the Ghost, as long as we can get it to hit in the next section, and we'll also get Surf in the next section, so we should get some really good moves going forward, as long as we can find our way through this part. That being said, we are having some trouble here just in the underground, so I'm going to go ahead and learn the move Dig right away. I'm going to learn it over Scratch, since there are plenty of stronger normal type moves, and let's just see how this actually affects this battle. Dig, of course, is super effective against these Magnemites, so instead of getting a bunch of Thunder Shocks that easily knock us out, we can instead come in here and just go for the Dig and easily sweep this fight. But the real reason I want Dig, of course, is for Whitney herself. I just think this is going to be a better strategy. But now it is time to come into the gym here, where we're basically even in terms of our attack and defense, but our opponent Snubbull has lower special defense. So I'm going to go Confusion here. It's not going to do great damage. It looks to be a 4-hit KO, but we still get through that fight very, very easily. It was licking us because it thinks that the Psyduck line is Psychic type, obviously. Clearly, that wasn't random at all. But now let's get into this next fight. So coming into Whitney, we have a level 17 Golduck with 60 HP. We know Confusion, Tail Whip, Disable, and Dig. And we are coming in with 39 attack, 38 defense, 43 special attack, 38 special defense, and 40 speed. We're going to be outsped by the Miltank, but let's see if we can manage to get this one to go. So Whitney attempt number 1, I'm just going to go Confusion here on the Clefairy, and we did 11 damage. So this would be a 5-hit KO with this move. So here's where I think Dig comes into play. It's not like this move is super strong here, but it does look like it would be a 4-hit KO rather than a 5-hit KO, and we do manage to get through just like that. Out next comes the Miltank. I'm going to go for Tail Whip on this Pokemon first, just to lower its defense. Once it goes for rollout, we will then Dig. A critical hit Dig after 1 defense drop did 29 damage. So yeah, this might not actually work out. Here she misses, and we get a Dig the next turn, but she can simply Milk Drink because Dig takes too many turns. So I think we need to get at least 1 miss from her from rollout. Obviously adding on a Goldberry would help a lot here too, but let's just see if we can get better ranges here. So this time I'm going to try to do a couple of tail whips on this Miltank first and then go into the dig. Here we can see she's doing really good damage to us though, so we go down on that attempt. So I'm gonna slap on the gold berry just so that we heal more. Let's try it after that. So back to Miltank, it goes roll out here. We're gonna do a couple of tail whips and then dig underground as we heal with our Goldberry. She's sticking with the rollout strat, and with 2 tail whips, this is looking to be a 4-hit KO. She can milk drink though. So the real issue is that we run out of dig PP before she runs out of milk drink PP, and we just don't quite get the range after she's done all that. We have 2 HP remaining on the Miltank, so it either has to miss here or we're going to lose. So that makes me think that maybe we do in fact need to change up our strategy here. And there is of course one other move that is possible to use here that makes sense, and that is Fury Cutter. Fury Cutter of course can build up a lot of damage, and with that move we should be able to get through this fight eventually. So of course with this move I'm going to start building up on the Clefairy. It goes for double team, which is like the opposite of what we wanted to see here. I'm simply going to give up on that attempt and try again. Now of course the big issue with this move is just actually needing to hit, but we do manage to get through the Clefairy. Out comes the Miltank, and keeping in mind we had a couple misses there on the Clefairy, we nearly one-shot the Miltank here. A critical hit obviously would have one-shot there, but otherwise we just need to not miss on the Clefairy a bunch of times and we're good to go. So this time we get through to the Miltank on much better health. Fury Cutter nearly one-shots it, and we get it on the next turn. So Fury Cutter strats were the way to go there with our Golduck. It does manage to get us through Whitney on that attempt. And just like that, we are ready to move on. This Pokemon does know Confusion, so it has, at least in theory, a way to get through Ghosts. We'll see how it actually works in practice though, given that it's not a same type move, even though I always really felt like it should be. I mean, there are so many psychic water type Pokemon, why couldn't this be one? But we'll worry about all that in the next section. For now, we are moving on with our Golduck, and it's time to check in on Azumarill. And of course, Azumarill already has basically the most broken set with Defense, Curl, and Rollout on its moveset. So we're basically just going to rely on those moves, I think, to get through this section. And with that, we should pretty much just be cruising. But let's see if it actually works out. If there's anything that I'm not taking into account here, I highly doubt it. I think this Pokemon's just going to be OP. Here, we're even one-shotting Magnemites with this move. So basically, there's nothing to worry about. So now into the gym proper, where we're simply going to start off by setting up a single defense curl. Scary Face doesn't really matter, we're already slow, so we're just going to go into the rollout, and we're going to see that if we actually manage to hit this move, it's basically a 3-hit KO. Still, we got flinched and all kinds of things, still managed to get it to go, so that should be perfectly fine here coming into the gym leader. Let's just check the stats. Azumarill is coming into the gym leader at level 19 with 74 HP, rollout, defense curl, tail whip, and tackle on the moveset. We've got 31 attack, 43 defense, 31 special attack, 42 special defense, and 31 speed. We're definitely going to be outsped by that Miltank. As long as we don't get any really bad metronome moves though, I don't think it matters. Let's just see. So here I'm going to set up defense curl first, of course, and then just go straight into the rollout, and we get paralyzed by lick. That's actually like the worst case scenario for us, because that means that now we actually can't move. Oh, this is terrible. So we get stomped here by the Miltank. It goes rollout on us. We just needed to hit the rollout there and we missed. Still, it's only a 1 in 4 chance that we don't move, so even with paralysis, we managed to get through on the first attempt. Didn't even have a gold berry, just a normal berry on was more than enough to get Azumarill through. So that is another fully evolved Pokemon easily through the Whitney section. So just like that, we can say that all of these fully evolved water types just had no trouble here. They were able to get through 3 gyms on minimum battles. Now, however, it's going to be time to step down through the ranks. We've got 3 more Pokemon to do. Poliwhirl, Poliwag, and we still have our channel member pick Psyduck to get through, and then we can wrap this whole thing up. Poliwhirl comes in at level 20 with 63 HP. Water Gun, Hypnosis, Double Slap, and Mud Slap is the moveset, and we have 39 attack, 39 defense, 32 in both specials, and 49 speed. You'll note that this Pokemon is faster than its evolved forms. Both the Politoed and the Poliwrath were not outspeeding here, but we will in fact outspeed against the Miltank in this battle. So it's really going to come down to, I think, Hypnosis luck. Let's just see how it goes. We put the first Clefairy to sleep. I'm just going to go into Water Gun here. I know it has higher special defense, but even still, this looks to be a 4-hit KO. No problem to get through that Pokemon. Out comes Miltank next. I missed the first Hypnosis, hit the second one, and I'm actually going to go for the Mud Slaps here just to get its accuracy down nice and low. Obviously, when it wakes up, it can go for Stomp or something like that, so that's why I want the accuracy drops on. And in fact, it wakes up and critical hit stomps us to knock us out. We didn't even get to use our berry here. This time, we get the Miltank to sleep on the first turn, and we're still on very good health. It misses a Stomp as it wakes up the first time, and we're just going to complete the setup of the Mud Slaps as it goes to sleep again. And now with all the Mud Slaps on, I'm just going to double slap here, I think. In fact, Water Gun's actually probably the better move. It misses another Stomp. Finally, it does hit, but we managed to put it back to sleep, and Water Gun is doing good enough damage as long as it stays asleep. It can't heal up, and we win just like that. 2 attempts to get through Whitney, really not too bad. She had to get a critical hit on us in the first one in order to knock us out, so don't feel too bad about that range at all. And because Poliwhirl gets through, of course, we are going to check on how Poliwag does. A lot of people like Poliwag. I think it's the first Pokemon that they ever saw that was a first stage complete minimum battles in Gen 1. Turns out that Poliwag isn't necessarily even the best first stage Pokemon in that version, but still a really, really good one. And with Hypnosis, I think we have a chance here. We have had to go struggle on the previous 2 sections with Poliwag to get through, but this might finally be the part where it doesn't need to struggle at all and it can just use its moveset. Now, it is worth noting that as medium slow level up Pokemon, the entire Poliwag line is gaining a lot more levels here than most other challengers will get in this challenge. And that of course means more damage as well as more stats, because damage calculations include your level, but stat increases also rely on level ups in order to come in. So we can basically just see that this whole line should actually overperform relative to other Pokemon with similar stats. Here we once again level up and get access to the move Double Slap as we go into Teru, and here we can once again see even with a Poliwag, we're nearly one-shotting the Magnemites with our Water Gun here, so we should get through this just fine. Now, it's worth noting with Poliwag, it had to struggle in the previous 2 sections because it has a much more limited move pool than its evolved forms. Since the Pokemon doesn't technically have hands, it didn't get things like Mud Slap, and here it's not going to get Elemental Punches, so it's basically stuck with Headbutt, and if that doesn't work, then we're going to have to go for either Return or Blizzard to try to get through this section. So we're just going to have to pretty much make do with what we've got, though Headbutt could be a nice upgrade on our Double Slap. Let's try with our moveset as it is though. So first things first, against Scary Carry, we are going to try to put her Snubbull to sleep, and then once it is asleep, we're simply going to spam our Water Guns. This looks like it might be a 4-hit KO. In fact, it's looking like a 5-hitter. We're just going to miss the range to knock this Pokemon out, but still it stays asleep, so we easily get through and get to level 20. Now, we had to go struggle strats with this Pokemon in the previous 2 sections, so I'm kind of interested to see if we can find a way through without struggle here, but I'm going to give the Gold Berry right away because I think that's our best shot. We're coming in at level 20 with 53 HP, Water Gun, Hypnosis, Bubble, and Double Slap for now, and we are coming in with 33 attack, 29 defense, 28 in both specials, and again, just like Poliwrath, we have 49 in speed. So we will outspeed here. Sleep could be the key. Let's see if it works. So here in the first attempt against Whitney, we put the Clefairy to sleep, and I'm simply going to spam Water Gun here. I don't think there's a better strategy. Double Slap is just kind of too random here, and sure enough, we knocked this Pokemon out before it even gets a chance to wake up. Miltank's out next, we put this Pokemon to sleep, and now I'm just going to sit here and spam the Water Guns again. We did 10 damage, so this is a 7-hit KO. So it's going to take more than one sleep to knock this Pokemon out at least. It wakes up and goes for Rollout, and we heal up with a Gold Berry after we miss 2 of our Hypnosises in a row, and then a critical hit Rollout finishes us off. So let's try this again because that was clearly really bad luck on the Miltank. Hypnosis I know isn't super accurate, but still it is 60%. It should hit more often than it misses, so I will generally reset when I get that sort of luck in a fight. This time we get through Clefairy again with no damage. We missed the first Hypnosis but landed the second one on the Miltank, and we get a critical hit on the first turn with Water Gun. It wakes up and uses Stomp on us, but we managed to get it back to sleep this time after healing with our Goldberry, and if we can just get it to stay asleep so that we can get 3 more hits here, we will win this fight. And just like that, the first stage Pokemon Poliwag, it only took a couple attempts to get through Whitney. Really not too bad. So this Pokemon has gone from struggling in the first 2 gyms to legitimately beating the 3rd gym, and I mean, we're fairly fast, plus a badge boost in speed from Whitney, so keep in mind that badge boost could be really relevant for a lot of Pokemon. And with sleep tactics, we might just be able to get through the Ghastlies and Honors in the next section. We'll just have to see. But for now, Poliwag is through, and we've gotten through all of our challengers today on minimum battles. Some had to use some broken TMs, some had to use some other tactics. Obviously, the channel member picks were there, but we have one more channel member pick to try, and that is Sir Quack the Psyduck. Let's see how he goes. And of course, Sir Quack is brought to us thanks to channel member Toxic Cross, who saved this Pokemon by giving it access to the egg move Ice Beam. That helped a massive amount against both the Falkner section, but it also helped a lot in getting through that Bayleaf in the Rival 2 fight. And now I think this move Ice Beam is going to be pretty overpowered for quite a while. Keep in mind, you can't actually get Ice Beam until the post game. You would have to defeat the Elite Four, and then you can come back and get this move by using coins. So it's not like it's easy to get, but it's one of the best moves in the game overall. The whole issue, of course, is that we're using it with a Psyduck that doesn't have great stats. So even against Teru, we're not even one-shotting with this move against his level 7 Magnemites. These are going to be 2-hit KOs. Still, it does prove to be enough to get through that section, so we're ready to move on now to Whitney. So I really wish there was a headache mechanic for this Pokemon where it would become completely overpowered when its headache gets bad enough. That's what it was in the lore. But instead, we're just going to have to come in here and hope that our moves are strong enough to get through this gym. Here we can see that Ice Beam is a 3-hit KO on the Snubbull, but we do manage to get through there. So let's move on to the gym leader and see how she goes. So coming into Whitney with our Sir Quack, we are at level 17 with Psyduck, 50 HP. We've got Scratch, Tail Whip, Confusion, and Ice Beam, of course. I'm going in with a Goldberry. I really do think we need it. And we have 29 attack, 27 defense, 33 special attack, 28 special defense, and only 30 speed. We will outspeed the Clefairy at least. Let's just see how this goes. So first attempt here against Whitney, I'm going to go Ice Beam on the Clefairy. We can see that that did 15 damage. So this is like a 4-hit KO just against this Pokemon. But we could get a freeze, which is why I'm going to stick with it. So here we do manage to get through the first Clefairy at least. On now to the Miltank. I've got 4 Ice Beams in the bag as it starts its rollout. And we're really just banking on a freeze here, I think. It's a 10% chance to hit. So that's better than the odds of getting a single critical hit, which is why I'm going to reset for it here. This time we freeze the Clefairy, so technically we can just do anything from that point, and we get through to the Miltank on full health. Unfortunately, we're just not able to get a freeze here, and we would have needed at least 2 more hits to knock that Pokemon out. This time, finally, after 4 attempts, we do freeze the Miltank. However, I'm just going to stick with the Ice Beam here. Of course, it could defrost. We get a nice critical hit there, though, and just like that, we managed to get through. Keep in mind, the odds of her defrosting on any given turn aren't that great, so it kind of makes sense that if we get a freeze, most of the time we're going to win from that point. It was a very close call there, however, for our Psyduck, so I don't feel super confident going into the next section. We're going to have to see if this Pokemon stands any shot or not as it progresses in the game. Quick Claw strategies definitely will come in with this one in the next section though, and it may be just a situation where we're resetting on a Haunter until we get a freeze or get it to not use Curse. And even then, we're going to have to figure out how to get through a Magnemite. But just like that, Sir Quack, the legend. But just like that, Sir Quack does get through this section. Toxic Cross, thank you again for your support. All the channel members are absolutely incredible. I couldn't do this without you. So just like that, it is a 3rd episode in a row where Whitney hasn't walled anything. Whitney is basically just a revolving door, allowing every Pokemon to eventually get through. We haven't really gone more than like 5 or 10 resets at most with most of these Pokemon in this challenge at this point, with the exception of some cases where I was really just trying to get through without using TMs, or in the case of the 4 Pokemon that have ended up having to use unreasonable or overpowered TMs, but really not too bad. With that being said, we are starting to see some cracks forming. Venomoth is not a slouch Pokemon by any means. It just isn't very good in this section, and it was the same with the Golbat. Golbat had all the tools that it needed, it just didn't have the speed that its evolved form Crobat had. So we can start to see some ways that Pokemon might actually struggle in this section, and looking at next week, I think we've got even more Pokemon that might fit that category. Next time we are going to be coming in, of course, with our Kadabra and Alakazam, the entire Machop line. We're going to have Victory Bell, Golem, Rapidash, the entire Slowpoke line, including Slowking, of course. We've got Murkrow, Misdreavus, Unknown, Girafarig, Dunsparce, and Gligar. The Pokemon that I think really will struggle in the next section, of course, are going to be that Unknown. I think this might be the end of Unknown since it has no options to use any other moves. Hidden Power Psychic was the one that we got through with legitimately last time, and that would be the strongest Unknown here, at least as far as I can tell. So unless there's some weird like damage rounding with defense values, I don't think that's going to be the case. So we're going to have to see how that Unknown does, and if Hidden Power Psychic fails, I think Unknown is in the fail column permanently. We also have Misdreavus, which I don't think is going to get anything super great here, and Rollout might just be too much. And we're just going to have to see about some of these other Pokemon. I am also going to throw in to the next episode a couple of channel member picks. We are going to have the Wooper and the Heracross in the next episode just to see how they perform as well. Let's see how many of these Pokemon can actually get through Whitney on minimum battles. Place your predictions down below. And for today's Pokemon, since they weren't super interesting to see how many beat Whitney, the bigger question is, how are they going to do against Morty? Tell me that. And with that, guys, thanks for watching as usual. We're going to keep this going. Even if this section isn't super exciting, remember, there's a lot more excitement to come. Anyway, appreciate you. See you in the next one. Later.